What's up, YouTube? It's your boy Herc the Soulful, and today I'm here to talk about The Last Jedi, one of the most controversial Star Wars films of all time, and also one of the most nitpicked films of all time. Now, don't get me wrong, The Last Jedi had a lot of flaws to it. It ranks at the bottom of my ranking list as far as Star Wars films go, but a lot of the criticism I see is unfair. Now, I know that Star Wars films are usually picked apart, but man, y'all usually leave meat. Y'all left nothing. It's nothing but bone. So here's a list of some nitpicks I've seen that aren't fair. Now, this list isn't in any kind of order. Like, I'm not doing it from best to worst. This is just how I wrote things down. And I'm not trying to make excuses for The Last Jedi, nor am I trying to convince you that The Last Jedi is a good movie. I just feel if you're going to hate something, you should have good reasoning. And some of the reasonings I've seen and read and people have told me aren't really good. They're more so biased and hypocritical. And this isn't me saying that all the criticism towards the movie is biased and hypocritical. No, some opinions towards the movie are actually valid. And I'm going to make a list of those next, valid criticism of the movie. But you have to be honest, some of this stuff is just nitpicking, and it stems from the hatred of Disney and Kathleen Kennedy and Ryan Johnson that's been building up for the last few months. And before I get into my list, remember to like, share, subscribe, and leave your boy a comment. I mean, if you find yourself on the page, show your boy some love, man. I really appreciate it. I appreciate all the little bit of likes and a little bit of views I do get. So here we go. Number 1. No backstory to Rey and Snoke. Now, I've seen people say that them not having a backstory is actually a plot hole. I've actually seen a lot of people say that. And my response is, I don't think y'all know what plot holes are. A plot hole is defined as a gap or inconsistency in the storyline that goes against the flow of logic established by the story's plot. Not having a background story on a certain character doesn't go against the flow of logic. You have questions about a certain character's personal life. That's reasonable. That's fine, actually. But not knowing the background story to Snoke doesn't take away from the story being told. Now, knowing the background may add to the story, but not knowing it doesn't take away from the story. And you may be saying, well, knowing Rey's background or who her parents is may help us understand why she's so powerful. And that may be true. That may be true. But we don't need that. If you look at other characters in Star Wars, a lot of them in Legends, we have no idea who their parents are. And some that we do know, they're insignificant. They're not even Force users. But yet the character is still powerful. You know what I'm saying? We don't need to know their lineage to understand how powerful they are. And as someone who loves anime, I completely understand how knowing the character's lineage and background story, how that can make the story more interesting and more engaging. But unless the story is revolving around that character's lineage or background, we don't need to know it. And in The Last Jedi and The Force Awakens, knowing Rey's or Snoke's background isn't needed to tell those stories. Now, again, you may not like those stories, but knowing their backgrounds won't make you like it anymore. You know what I mean? Like, if you don't like the stories for the stories, knowing their backgrounds won't help you like it. So therefore, it's not needed. Number 2, the scene with Paige Tycho. Now, when I first saw this, I remember sitting in the theater and I remember her falling off the ladder, and then she wakes up in what seems like she wakes up in the middle of outer space. And I remember thinking, like, is she? How can she survive in outer space? But then my immediate next thought was, there must be a force field. So after she gathers herself and she presses the button or whatnot, the bombs, quote unquote, drop out of the bomber. Now, this scene didn't bother me because we've seen something similar to this in The Empire Strikes Back. So I didn't even give it a second thought. I assumed that both of these scenes could be explained with common sense. And actually, I felt slow being that I didn't think of force field immediately. But it turns out that's not the case. It seems like everyone kind of lost a bit of common sense when it came to these two scenes. See, the novel explains it. What happens is the bombs are pushed out of the bomber and they're magnetically pulled towards their target. And a lot of fans were like, well, it shouldn't take a book to explain this type of stuff. It should be explained in the movies and blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, so what did y'all want to happen? Did y'all want Paige to fall and then she wakes up like, huh, I'm so glad the force field's up so I can breathe. Now let me hurry up and get the remote so I can press the buttons and the bombs be propelled downwards. Like, what did y'all want her to have to say that? Like, I don't understand. I feel like some stuff should be common sense. Everything doesn't need to be explained. Everything doesn't need to be said aloud. And bigger Star Wars fans should have known this. Like, this shouldn't have to be explained to y'all, because this isn't anything new. So the fact that y'all took this and ran with it so far, like it was just unknown and you couldn't figure it out. It blew me. It blew my mind. Y'all were really overdoing it with this one. Number 3, no lightsaber duels. Now, don't get me wrong. I love lightsaber duels, but the fact that this is a problem is nitpicking, because we had plenty of lightsaber action. Tons of it actually. But the fact that there was no lightsaber on lightsaber duels shouldn't be a problem. Like, I feel like we got enough action where this shouldn't be a problem. Number 4, the humor. Now, comedy is one of those things where it's really opinionated. Like, what makes you laugh won't make me laugh. Like, for example, one thing that people find hilarious that I don't even chuckle at is little kids using curse words. Like, people crack up over this stuff, and I'm just like, I don't see how that's funny. Like, it's not me being a prude or anything, or stuck up or whatever. It's just, I don't find it funny. And it's a lot of stuff. Like, I don't find the internet pranks funny. Like, there's a few of them that are entertaining, but I don't find any of that funny. Bottom line is, everyone has different tastes when it comes to comedy. As far as the humor in Star Wars, a lot of people felt like The Last Jedi was trying too hard, which it didn't bother me. I noticed that it was different than what we're used to, but honestly, I feel like this isn't a problem. Like, the one-liners and the quips shouldn't bother you. It shouldn't deter you from this actual story. You know what I'm saying? It's not like they were trying to be a comedy movie. It was just throwing a few jokes in there. And I feel like it's a nitpick to actually say that the humor is one of the reasons that the movie wasn't good, because it had nothing to do with the humor. It had everything to do with how the story was told. And if we keep it in a buck, if we gonna keep it 100, I actually like the humor. Like, the humor was one of the few things I actually liked about the movie. But that's just me. Number 5, Captain Phasma. Now, Phasma was hyped up to be this super RoboCop type, trooper, unstoppable, just an all-around beast. And in both films, The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi, she pretty much did nothing. And people were upset about this. And you know what? This would be understandable if Boba Fett wasn't so popular. I mean, in the OG trilogy, he did nothing. He had a couple of lines, he did a few things, and then he got beat up by a blind nigga. But the nigga's popularity skyrocketed. He became one of the most iconic characters in Star Wars. And he did nothing in the films. So the fact that people are giving Captain Phasma grief over the same thing blows my mind. I'm like, bruh, like, this isn't new. Well, we this is, that was in the 70s, and this is now, and writing should evolve. Man, miss me with that bull, because stories were great in the 70s. Stories were well written. So you can't excuse crap writing in the 70s because it's the 70s, and then try to act like, oh, it shouldn't apply now, because there were great films in the 70s. Some of the best films ever made came out in the 70s. So miss me with that, oh, it's bad writing because it's from the 70s. Nah. You're being hypocrites. And I'm not saying you shouldn't acknowledge Captain Phasma's lack of action and lack of scenes. I'm just saying that if it's okay, like if you were completely fine with Boba Fett having no lines, having little to no scenes, then you should be perfectly okay with Captain Phasma going through the same thing. If it's a problem, it should be a problem both ways. Like, it shouldn't be good with Boba Fett but bad with Captain Phasma. Nah, if it's a problem, it's a problem. That's what I'm saying. And this leads me into number 6, the Praetorian Guard whose weapon went missing. Now, I can't even lie. Didn't even notice it. I had no idea. I had actually, when it came up, I had to actually go back and rewatch the scene just to know what y'all were talking about. And you want to know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of Luke Skywalker, legendary force kick, right? No one really cared. It was just a mishap with the choreography. No one paid it any mind. It was funny. We made memes about it. But the fact that y'all are blowing this up so much is low-key pathetic. Oh, the Praetorian Guard's weapon is missing. Oh my god. Ah, like, shut up. Like, that's nonsense. Oh, okay, his weapon went missing. It's people that really think the director stopped the movie, took the Praetorian Guard's weapon because they didn't want Rey to look like she was going to get beat. Like, that's stupid. Honestly, let me tell y'all what happened. As the fight scene was going on, the nigga dropped his weapon. The end. Like, it's simple. It's simple. There's no need to press this. Like, if this is one of the flaws you found in the scene in this movie, you have a problem. And I know what some of y'all thinking. Well, the reason we were able to let go of Luke's force kick is because that was the 70s. Fight choreography wasn't as good as it is now. And let me stop you there. Because the 70s had some of the best fight scenes ever made in history. Bruce Lee's Enter the Dragon came out in the 70s. And I don't know the dates for sure, but I'm pretty sure other Bruce Lee movies came out in the 70s. On top of that, Kung Fu movies in general existed then. And they have some of the best fight scenes ever. So, again, miss me with that it was the 70s BS. Because it's a weak excuse. Number 7. Luke Skywalker wanting to kill Ben Solo. Now, this scene was very controversial, where a lot of people thought not only was Luke being out of character, but he was being unreasonable. And I think people really underestimated the level of fear Darth Vader commanded. Let me explain. Luke was afraid that Ben could become the next Vader. Vader is like Hitler times 10. The Empire had killed billions of people, and Vader himself single-handedly killed hundreds of people. He is literally the most hated man in the galaxy. And now you have your nephew, who's not only his grandson, but he has the potential to be as strong as Darth Vader, and he's slipping to the dark side similar to Darth Vader. The pressure is on, man. And no matter what you try, he's falling into the dark side every day, little by little, slipping into the dark side, and there's nothing you can do about it. Everything you've tried, every amount of training, every piece of knowledge that you've bestowed upon him, nothing is working. He's growing stronger every day, and he's falling into the darkness every day, and there's nothing you can do about it. And for a brief second, not even a brief second, a nanosecond, for a nanosecond, you think, I can just end this right now. And then the thought goes, you feel ashamed of yourself. You can't believe that you even allowed this thought in your head. Now, I honestly feel like these are reasonable thoughts for Luke Skywalker to have. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, well, he didn't give up on Vader, so why would he give up on his nephew who he knows better and who he has a better relationship with? Well, I can think of a couple of things to kind of counter that thought. First off, Luke was a kid, and when you're a kid, you're more naive. You're more willing to have faith in people. You're more willing to be optimistic. And plus, on top of that, Vader had already done his dirt. He was already a monster. He had already killed hundreds of people, and the Empire had already killed billions. So he loses nothing trying to convert Vader. Vader was already a monster. So now when you fast forward, Luke is grown, he's older, he's matured. He knows that you can't convert everybody. And on top of that, he's been trying to stray Ben away from the darkness, and he sees that he can't. He sees that he can't. And he's going to become another Vader. That's not something you take lightly. You don't take that lightly. Another Vader? Vader was a monster. He was a beast. He terrorized the galaxy. So the fact that you see Ben becoming the next Vader, I think it's perfectly okay that the thought that I can just end this now crosses your mind. But yeah, those are 7 Last Jedi nitpicks that I found amongst the fans. And like I said before, it's okay if you don't like it, and it's okay if you criticize it. But I feel like if you're going to criticize it, be reasonable, you know, make sense. And I realized this video ran a little longer than I wanted, so I'm going to cut it short, and there's going to be a part 2 to this video coming out real soon. And I want y'all to leave a comment. Tell me some things that I missed. Tell me some things that you disagree with. Tell me some things you do agree with. You know, we all about opinions over here. And remember to like, share, and subscribe. And check out some of my other videos while you're here. You may find something you like. Alright, this your boy, Herc the Soulful. Y'all have a good night. Peace.